Okay, I finally got around to this. I've been meaning to do this since the start of Christmas, but now that we're getting heavy snow, it's become more and more apparent I need to kind of upgrade this or fix this. What we're looking at is the friction disc and the friction disc surface, just down below. Basically what's happening is the machine's stalling out, which a lot of people attribute that to changing the disc. As you can see, my disc, you can actually still see the wear line on it there. I mean, there's a bit of wear on it, but I replaced it last year. I replaced it a few times. It doesn't seem to make any sort of a difference. I think more than likely where the problem is actually in the engagement system, and more than likely the slack that develops in the bolts over time. As you can see here, like if you look, you can see it just like walking back and forth on that bolt. I mean, probably when it's brand new, it doesn't make any difference, but as this play opens up, we stop being able to put the same amount of pressure on this plate, which causes this engagement plate to basically not engage as far as it needs to put really good pressure on it so it doesn't slip. So the first thing I wanted to check, obviously, was all the dogs and make sure that the bushings were still okay. The only thing I can kind of notice here is that there appears to be a widening of that slot. I don't know if you guys can see that there, but I mean, it's not a huge amount of play there, but I mean, every little bit is gonna you know, stop it from doing what it's supposed to do. So there's that, and it's actually noticeable on the other side too. I think the light's in the way, but anyways, so the first thing that I've noticed doing this video after the fact, I went to go grab my camera, because the first thing I noticed was there's actually this bracket here, and that hole attaches up here to the actual engagement lever that goes up to the lever to the machine, right, to engage your drive. So the first thing I noticed here is if you look at the bolt, you can see, focus there, you can see it's got all sorts of weird wear on it. You can see where the threads disappear on it. So right there again, I mean, this machine is old. I mean, I don't even know what the year this machine is, but it's an old Craftsman. It's been working fantastic throughout the years that I've had it. I actually bought it as a parts machine, but decided to turn it into my main machine when I went to go get it because it was in better shape. But you know, now these little things are starting to creep up on it. I just recently upgraded the auger system. It's now got some what look like chainsaw teeth on the augers, and it rips like crazy. But the problem I'm still having is the drive, so that's what I'm going to focus on today. I'll let you know what I find here, but I think for the most part I'm going to more than likely target this and some of the components surrounding it, because it's got a lot of play in it. This song is kind of fitting. This came on. Okay, so as I just put the phone down to do another inspection of all the hardware, you can see that this cam is actually mounted to that shaft back there. And as I was looking over here, I noticed, yeah, we've got definitely a missing bushing or something funny's happening there for sure. If you look at the other side, it's like this cap thing, which obviously I'm not gonna have, so I'm gonna have to fabricate some sort of a new bushing, because that play again is going to affect our actual engagement, right? It's gonna have to move that much and then push before it's actually gonna work. So every little bit of play that's in this system, I mean, nothing looks broken. So I think what we've got going on here really more likely is we've just got some weared out materials here that I'm gonna have to try and figure out what I'm gonna do there. I do have some bushings and random things. This side looks like it's got one and that side doesn't, so it's bizarre, but I will take care of it here. There's another shot of that play. So that's with me lifting up on the actual drive engagement. I don't know what's missing there. It looks perhaps maybe a C-clip, but I mean, somehow I gotta suck that play up. So that's first order of business. That's definitely not good like that. Okay, so I showed you guys from an earlier video how this was walking back there on the previous video. You can see that shaft when I lift it up, it would walk all over. The way I fixed that is I spot welded a washer on there. It doesn't look like it ever had any sort of an attachment or a bushing or whatever. It looks like it just was supposed to sit in steel, and because of that, obviously the steel wears and you get play. It looks like the shaft is actually held in from this side, and I did have that cotter pin off. But yeah, as far as holding the shaft in, it doesn't need to be secured over here, but obviously the play was a factor, so it's gone and we're moving on. It's done. Yeah, it's not the nicest fix, and yeah, it's not gonna last forever, but I'll probably give the snowblower at least another 2-3 years on that shaft. Just gotta make sure I keep it nicely lubed up there, and as you can see, there's absolutely no play there anymore. So the next shaft that I noticed was moving is actually on a replaceable bearing. If you can see it, it's right by that gear. You can see it moving up and down. Don't know if it's the bearing that's shot or if it's the shaft. The shafts on these things are known to be pretty wussy. So it could be either or. The next, obviously, task is to pull that off and see if I can just get away with replacing that bearing, or if it's going to require more than that. Now, as far as this side's concerned, let's have a look at that. Yeah, both sides could definitely use some love there, but that side's way worse. So let's see what I find there. All right, here's the other bolt. Okay, so that's the lower one that holds the actual linkage together here, and then this is the upper one that goes to the actual bracket. You can see, you know, all these holes are hogged out, right? So, you know, over the course of the life, that's what's happening to everything. And then of course you have a mount that's also inside there that also, you know, it's gonna wow out. So you know, we can do a couple things there, but right now I'm more concerned about the user replaceable bearing. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely gonna get some new bolts. You can see where the threads are literally worn right down on that one, and this one's very similar too. Like, you can see it, right? So I mean, a couple little things I can probably do. I don't know if it's gonna, you know, fix it, but everything at this point now is gonna tighten this drive up, and you know, hopefully we get it to the point where, I mean, it's not super bad. I'm trying to make this thing plow through like hard wet snow. So I mean, I'm asking a lot of the machine, but that's what I do to these things. I find ways to make them work better. The auger was one of those projects, but which I'll cover in another video maybe. But yeah, basically this is you know, what I do to this thing to keep it alive. And quite honestly, this machine works better than 90% of the machines that I see out there throwing snow, just because of the couple things I've done to it. So I'll be back. We'll see what I find here with this shaft. Hopefully it's just a bearing, and if it is, I can just buy those. Those are easy to buy and replace. So that's what those are actually meant to do, are those two pieces there. Those are replaceable, and more than likely I'm gonna go get some of those tomorrow. Okay, it's apart, and just looking at the shafts, you can see that the left side, the well, I guess it's supported evenly, but the side that most of the pressure comes from is obviously this side. This is where the lever is, so it's pushing up most of the pressure obviously is on this side of the shaft. So this shaft side looks okay. This one, yeah, not so much, and it's probably where some more play is coming from. I'm gonna have to think about how I'm gonna tighten that one up. That's gonna require definitely some more screwing around, probably some weld. But yeah, we'll see what I can do with these bearings first. Maybe I can just get away with increasing the Teflon size or something in there. I'll play with that. Okay, so I found pretty much the problem with this side of the drive shaft of this is the actual friction disc shaft. So this is what actually connects drive power to the transmission. And if you look over here, this piece here is really square. It looks like it's in good shape. I can probably get away with just buying a new bearing for this one and get rid of like 90% of the play, but over here we have problems. I don't know if you guys can see. You can kind of see it popping back. Let's see if I can show you the gap. Well, it's there, I can assure you that. There it is. Okay, so I don't have a lathe, so I can't just weld that and recut it, which would probably be the easiest thing. But what I do have is I have a socket right there, which is exactly the same size as this. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off with a cutting wheel. I'm going to re-weld it, and that should firm up this side, because here's the bearing here, and you can see how nice and tight that fits in there. So that is my fix to fix that. I don't know if it's going to work. I might regret doing this, but all I can do is try. That's all bolted back in there. You can see the piece that I made there. As you can see, it fills out the bearing a whole lot better than it did before. And onto this side. Now, bearing in mind these are used, so I probably won't get rid of all of the play, but I mean, I can get rid of most of it. So let's see what happens now when I remember how much that was moving before. It is not moving now. Wow, that actually worked really well. Hopefully it holds together. But there is zero play in that now. That's not moving at all. Honestly, I think it's almost ready to go back together. I sanded the friction disc up a bit, just gave it a light scuff with some 120. I'll blast it off with some brake cleaner just to make sure I don't got any shit on it. But yeah, it's looking like things are ready to start going back together. This spins fairly freely. It's got a bit of a tight spot, but I think that'll eventually work its way through. I mean, what can you do with a welder and a freaking socket? How close can you get, right? I mean, there's a bit of a tight spot there, but I think it'll wear itself out and that'll loosen up a bit. But as far as what I wanted to accomplish with play, there is absolutely none there anymore. Okay, so two areas of attack. That back area, I did that, of course, with the washer earlier on. And now I didn't touch this side. This side was okay, but this side I cut off a socket and reattached it and welded it onto the shaft, ground it down a little bit, and hopefully it's close enough. Yeah, there's a bit of a tightness in there, but it's not too bad. Okay, so it's all back together, got the tires back on, got everything bolted back together, everything's back as it was. Looks like everything is good here. This is definitely tightened this clearance up as well, so that's good. This is a direct drive model, no chain on this one. Probably the reason why that wears out the way it does. So, anyways, throw the cover on and give it a shot.